We are not motivated to be successful. I've noticed this being a coach for 12 years or whatever it is now. Nobody ever says it outright, but people seem to have an innate belief that they are trying to live well, that they're trying to succeed, they're trying to be happy, that their brain's basic function is to try and make them have a good life. And so they often believe whatever it is their brain tells them, their mind tells them, is the next best move because they think their mind's trying to achieve these things. But this is not supported by evidence. It doesn't take much. All you have to do is look out into the world and ask yourself, are people behaving as well as they could? Right? Are they making decisions to the best of their ability to have high quality of life, long-term well-being, success? And if you look closely, you'll find that the answer is absolutely not. Constant self-sabotage is very obvious if you could just observe people from a distance, right? You can observe the way somebody structures their day, the kind of choices they make with food, how they talk to other people, and you can see like they know other ways of doing this and they're choosing this way. That can't be the best possible choice for a high quality of life. Let's take, for example, somebody getting into a war in the comments section on YouTube, which has happened to me. Guilty as charged, right? So you think about that. You're on there with anonymous other people, probably half of which are bots at this point, and you're going back and forth, you're all caps, insults, and so on. It's not like you don't know of anything else to do, right? It's like you know you could exercise. You know you could take your dog for a walk. You know you could have a nice little ice cream date with your daughter. You could write a book. There's so many things you could do instead of getting into a comments war in YouTube that you're capable of doing and that you're aware of being able to do, and yet you choose this. Like, no matter what the argument is on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, do you really think that's the best possible use of your time for a high quality, long-term satisfaction in life? Of course not. It wouldn't even make the top 1,000, and yet people do it all the time. We know that being obese is not as good as being physically fit, and yet look how many people overeat. We know that most people working a shitty job that they hate are probably qualified and able to get at least a slightly better job that pays slightly more with a slightly better environment. I think that's a fair thing to say for most people, and yet most people don't do that. They don't even look for another job. Most of us know how to have a conversation with someone else and come to an agreement over something that, we're not totally eye to eye on. And yet people still shout at each other and send insults and do nasty things by text message, even though they know this is not the most effective way to communicate. And they are capable of better communication. So if you take all that into account and that overwhelming tidal wave of evidence that people are constantly behaving against their own best interests, then you have to let go of the idea that we're actually motivated to succeed, that our like baseline functioning and setting is designed for well-being. No, we're clearly programmed for something else. So if you observe the pattern detached, you imagine you're just a primate researcher watching a herd of monkeys, a troop, I don't know what the fuck you call them, a group of primates doing their thing, and you've got no bias. You're just like, I don't know why they do anything. I'm going to try and figure it out from their behavior. I'm a behaviorist. I'm going to work backwards from their behavior to figure out their motives. And I'm not starting with any assumption about what their motives are or should be. If you did that with humans, you would see, okay, well, they're clearly not trying to have a good life. We can rule that one out right out of the gate. What are they doing? What is the process here? What's the motivation? And you'll see one thing more clearly than you see anything else. It's very simple. People repeat themselves. That's it. That's what you're seeing all the time. There's somebody doing what they've always done. Somebody going through cycles, patterns, repeating from start to finish and then starting over again, over and over again. A person who's always in bad relationships. If you watch the whole process of like being single, starting a relationship, getting into it, destroying it, ending the relationship, you'd see, oh, they've just done it again and again and again. The same type of person, the same types of mistakes, if they are indeed mistakes, the same types of behavior in the relationship with the same types of people. And Then it ends in the same type of way, generally speaking, and then they go and do it again and again. Any so-called addictive behavior is just a repeat of a cycle. First, you put yourself in this high-risk situation, then you indulge in the thing, and then you behave badly, and then you feel shameful, and then you put yourself in the situation again, and around and around and around you go. We are not wired to be successful. We're not even wired for comfort. We're often very uncomfortable. Most people are very uncomfortable with who they are. We're wired for the familiar. We're wired for repetition, compulsive, mindless repetition. And you'll notice the brain doesn't seem all too fussed about what we're repeating, as long as we're repeating. In fact, if you reprogram yourself for successful behavior, there'll be a clicking point where suddenly your brain goes, okay, that's the new normal, and it will just repeat that. Like people get into a good habit with exercise, find it very hard to stop exercising because now the brain's like, that's the thing you got to repeat. Well, that's actually a good thing to repeat. Or somebody who budgets sensibly with money. You'll notice they're just always sensible with money all the time. That's a good habit to repeat. And people who constantly try to talk through disagreements rather than losing their shit, they do that enough times, they actually find losing their shit very uncomfortable. And they're much more comfortable just talking things through, and so on. You must understand that our brains are not wired for modern day success. We're wired for survival about 100,000 years ago in the middle of the food chain in the savannah of Africa. That's what our brains are wired for, which is you just repeat anything because that's how you stay alive the longest. You find a bush with berries on it, you just keep eating from the same bush because it didn't kill you. If you find a tribe that doesn't hate you, you just stay with that tribe. It doesn't matter if you enjoy them or if they're a good fit. You just stay with them because you're always with them because that's actually more likely to survive. These days, it backfires on you, that repetition compulsion. If you want to succeed, you have to actually have override abilities. You have to make sure you're repeating the right things. You'll always repeat yourself. That's deeply programmed. You can't turn that off. But make sure you're repeating the right things. Don't just repeat yourself blindly. You're going to be having to go through these regular discomfort periods where you choose something new before it becomes familiar. You want to get good at exercise. Exercise every day for 30 days so that it becomes the new normal. And then you'll feel like more comfortable exercising than not. And then you can dial up the amount of exercise you do, but just get it repeatedly on the ticket first. Like I often say to my clients, the most important variable is frequency. Do something often if you want to do it a lot. Don't do it big, do it small but often. You want to get good at guitar, play every single day, even if it's only for 30 seconds or 5 minutes. Doesn't matter how long, as long as you can make sure it happens every day so that going a day off feels very uncomfortable. Make it the new familiar, and then you can dial it up. Feeling of discomfort comes from something new, not something dangerous. We can repeat dangerous things without feeling uncomfortable. How many of you drink, right? That's very dangerous, and you do feel totally comfortable with it. You feel comfortable getting into a motor vehicle. That's incredibly dangerous, and yet you feel comfortable with it. And yet you feel unsafe going to the Spanish class to learn Spanish so that like a third of the world opens up to you in terms of communication. That's not dangerous, but it does feel uncomfortable.